The police need more training. They need more training. That was the message tonight when I spoke to Rener Gracie, who is the founder of Gracie University, the grandson of Helio Gracie, which is basically the greatest martial arts family in the whole world. Their martial art is responsible for pretty much everything you see in the cage at the UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championship, and he spends a lot of his time training law enforcement on how to physically de-escalate situations. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, police are really good at de-escalating situations with verbal language. Hello, sir, how are you? Could you get out of the car? Could you back away from this? They try to use their language to de-escalate. But once it becomes physical, a lot of their training is to escalate and escalate again. Sometimes it's the only option. If the suspect gets violent, they have to restrain them. If the suspect grabs their gun, they have the right to use deadly force because that potentially could be something that would kill the officer or kill other people around them. And it's a series of escalation protocols. And Rener says that actually they should be taught the opposite. They should be taught that when someone goes for their gun, they should actually neutralize that hand to protect not only the officer, but also protect the potential victim or the potential perpetrator. And it's a fascinating way of looking at it. And once he did a demonstration, which he did live on the show, on the mats with a full-on utility belt with a gun and a taser on the other side, once he explained exactly what he was talking about, it was fascinating. And he also explained a really brutal reality that we don't understand, is that most police officers get minimal training when it comes to physically confronting suspects. I think it's a matter of weeks when they join, and then it's sometimes 4 hours every year or every 2 years in order to stay up to date with training when it comes to physically detaining suspects. Compare this to like a U.S. Navy SEAL team that might train for 12 or 18 months for a 6-month deployment. It's a completely different curve, and this is stuff that's complicated and needs training. I train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu now for 18 years. It's taken me years and years and years to get a lot of these techniques to where I understand them, and also to where you can use them effectively. I also asked him about the chokehold. Should it be banned? And he basically said no, because the chokehold, if used properly, is a very effective technique of restraining someone. It doesn't necessarily have to cause death as long as you're not using it in a state of fear where your amygdala takes over and you're in a state of panic where you go too far with it. And he said that's the problem. These police officers don't have the training, so they don't have the conditioning. So when that happens, that physical force, they can't remain calm, and sometimes they overuse these techniques. But without having the chokehold, other people have said they might be resulting to striking or other forms of force, which could potentially be more dangerous. So it's very controversial. Also, one thing they're doing at Gracie University is they're getting a lot of people around the world to fund their local police when it comes to these training and tactics. And it's something that I'm curious to do that here in London with the Met Police. So we're going to look into actually raising funds to where we can train the Met Police here in London in the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu techniques of how to use physical de-escalation of suspects. Now, it's a little different here because the officers, well, not most of them are not armed with handguns, but still, they could probably learn a lot about how to use these techniques and just make it safer for everyone involved. Again, it's a lack of training that's causing a lot of these problems. Now, again, we're not saying that's the only problem out there. There still is problems with the police, and there are bad police officers like there are bad jiu-jitsu instructors and bad broadcasters. But still, using this training as a way to understand how to use de-escalation of force is powerful. And you can watch this whole thing at LondonReal.tv/Gracie. The episode's up there. Rener is an amazing dude, so much energy. He's an entrepreneur as well. He built this Gracie University online, which is incredible. And he really is carrying on the tradition of his family, which is amazing. Gracie Jiu-Jitsu saved my life, quite literally, from being a lost, a recovering heroin addict to being the man I am today. I can't say enough about the family and the techniques and what it teaches you about yourself. So check out this episode and start having these maybe interesting and tough conversations with your local law enforcement. I think we can make a difference with these ideas. So wishing you lots of love out there, and we'll see you tomorrow for our next episode on London Real. Peace.